Hello, and welcome back to the Shinn Group Builders of Choice podcast. We are so excited to have you here with us today. Today, we're going to be talking about courage, grit, and mentorship, the elements that are required to build something lasting in an increasingly challenging market. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome my guest, Cooper Conger, who just recently earned the prestigious award of Young Gun. It recognizes exceptional talent and forward thinking in the home building industry. So I want to welcome Cooper to our podcast. It's so happy to have him here with us today.
Thank you. Hi, Emma.
Thank you. And I just want to say Cooper has we've known Cooper for just a little over 2 years, I think. We met him actually 2 years ago this last January. And we had a great time getting to know him and the passion that he has for the industry, and watching him grow over the last 2 years has been inspirational, not only for me, but for the other builders that are in connection with him as well. So I wanted to bring him on here to share his remarkable transformation and kind of hear a little bit about what makes him tick. So Cooper, will you share a little bit about yourself and how you got interested into the home building industry?
Yep. So I am the owner of NewPad Building Company. We build quality and affordable infill houses and duplexes in the Fort Worth area. I am originally from Boise, Idaho. A lot of people know my mother, Rhonda Conger. She's the vice president of CBH Homes, the biggest home builder in Boise in Idaho. And so I kind of grew up in the industry. My dad is a land developer, so I grew up working for him and in the industry. And then I went down to TCU with no real intent at all of getting into home building or anything like that. And then freshman year, I kind of started driving around, seeing developments. I was like, this is kind of an interesting deal, could be a possibility. And then COVID happened and I got sent home to Boise, Idaho. And that's when I started to really work for my dad. I got into his office full time and I was doing all of his budgeting, estimating, a lot of things on the finance side, and I really enjoyed it. And so we started talking about, well, let's develop some land down in Fort Worth. That's a great idea. We saw a niche of smaller builders not having a developer for them. You come to Texas, for those who haven't been here, you see a lot of big master plan communities where it's a lot of big publics, and it's like, gosh, there's no one developing for the little guys like we do in Idaho. And so that was kind of our thesis. And then we started driving around and seeing empty lots around Fort Worth on existing streets, which is not a phenomenon in Boise, Idaho at all. You have to do teardowns. And so we started looking into these empty lots and we were thinking, maybe we could build a house. And so it kind of worked out. A developer that I was talking to on a project had a spare lot that I needed an easement from him. So he said, if you buy this last lot, my accountant says I can sell it for tax purposes. Now, I don't know what tax purpose that ever benefits you, but this is what he was doing. And so it was kind of mid 2020-ish, right around there, summer of 2020. And this guy said, if you buy my lot, I'll sign this easement that you need for the development we were going to do. And so he said, sure, let's do it. And we thought this would be a great, we've been thinking we want to develop and build. And so this would be a great intro to building. And so I put an ad out on Craigslist for a construction manager. I found my guy, Ramon, who's still with us today. So this year will be about 6 years with us now, and at the end of this year. And so found him, and he did it on a fee basis for that job. And we struggled through building our first house in 2021. And it was hectic. We couldn't no one wanted to deliver us materials. We couldn't get concrete. Lumber yards didn't want us. And so as you guys know, it was just really hectic at that time trying to get started. We were lucky enough. The market was amazing, so anybody could make money, and we did. And we built that first house. Luckily enough, found 5 more lots down the road, built those first 5 houses. And we started developing land. I developed 27 lots down in Crowley, south of Texas, built out, sold out of there. And so our building arm has really grown much more rapidly than our development arm has, just because of the vacant infill lots we've been able to find around Fort Worth. And so we did, 1 house in 21. I think we did 10 in 22. I think 19 in 23, and then about 28 in 24, and then we ended up selling 47 last year. So it was really awesome. We've been getting amazing growth down here in Fort Worth, building on infill lots and our own developments. And that's our goal going forward. Our goal for this year is to do it's about 65 sales or so, and I want to do about 60 starts while expanding our pre-sale program. But that's how I got here. It might be more than you bargained for, but that's how I got here, and that's where we're trying to go.
Oh, that's incredible. It is just so fun. And I have to say, I have enjoyed getting to know you over the last couple of years, and the energy that you have for this industry and for what you do, and the passion you have for just always striving to get better has been amazing to watch. I know you're currently in a builder group right now, and I know the builders really look up to you, which is kind of funny. Not that it's funny they do, but when they found out, we were sitting around talking, and they were talking about insurance, and you're like, yeah, I'm still my mom's insurance. And it was so funny because not one single person in the room realized your age. And not to put anything on that, but the fact that you carry yourself so well at a young age is phenomenal, and how successful you've been in the last couple of years. And so if you could just speak real quickly to that, because I know we do have some young builders that come to our events, and they're always like, well, I'm young, so nobody will listen to me, and I can't do this because I'm young. And so I think that there's some power in having just enough confidence in the fact that you can do something if you put your mind to it. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how that has worked out for you.
Yeah, I think it's a testimony to my parents for sure. As far as being a young person in the industry, they're amazing to grow up under. As far as the excitement for the industry goes, and excitement for improvement, I read a funny story the other day about Novak Djokovic, and they asked him, they said, why are you so great? And he said, I love to hit the ball. And it's like he just loves to hit that tennis ball. And he goes, not to diss on anybody out here, but you can see some people, they don't love to hit the ball. They're good at tennis, but they don't love to hit the ball. And it's like, I just love the little increments that you can make in this business, and the little, every single dollar that you can save on anything really truly matters at the end of the day, on every cost code, on every item that you do. And I just find it really cool. And the people that I hire find it really cool. As for being a young person in that industry, I think and Shinn really helped me with this, it's being confident. I am confident that POs will make a difference. I am confident that having your own takeoffs and sending out bill of materials and sending out your product lists make a difference. And so the more knowledge that you have around the industry, the more confidence and screw you factor of this is right and this is how we need to do it. We are moving forward this way. If you don't like it, get off the train, allows you to carry yourself that way, and people will trust you and go along with you if you have that knowledge and are passionate about it and believe it works. And I've had ideas that don't work, but I pivot quickly, and people appreciate people that pivot quickly and realize when they've messed up and said, shoot, you were right, let's go and do it this way. And I've been there.
Wow, that's super powerful. I love that. And it's all about having the right knowledge and making sure that you're confident in what you're saying. And I think that's one of the things that when we first met you called me, you had been, I believe, with Mike Lyon is who you talked to. You're like, Mike Lyon told me to give you a call. And I said, all right, well, we can put you in a builder group, but I want you to go to Managing for Profit first. And so I met you at Managing for Profit. You had a few questions. And then the following week you went to your builder group, and you're like, I have a few more. And I swear you had probably 20 pages of questions. And then the other thing that I thought was really neat is that you went to Ed also, and you asked Ed a bunch of questions. And then you reached out beyond that because you're like, I need to know more. And you spent an hour and a half with Chuck on the phone learning how to do pricing. And then you went to more classes and you learned from each one of your peers. And I think that what you've done has been so inspirational to watch, because you're not afraid to ask questions. Yeah. You're not afraid to admit that you don't know something. And the one thing that I think is a benefit for being young is that you don't have the ego behind you to say, well, I know better because I have that experience. Instead, you're like, I don't know yet, and I really want to take an opportunity to learn from those around me.
100%. And I think for young people, on staying on that, there's a stigma around not knowing things. Like you worry that if you don't have all the answers, you look like an idiot. But really, when you ask these questions, people tend to respect you more, because they realize that you don't know everything, and you don't think that you know everything. So I think having the willingness to dig in, learn, ask those questions is a huge part of business, home building, anything really is. And shouting out to my mom again, she's huge on learning. So she's always preached to me, read, get more knowledge, go to classes, go to these conferences of people that have been there and done that and are smarter than you. It's hard being young. You don't have all the answers. And so I like to go read books. I like to go to these classes, Ed, Jim, Mike, Kenny, all these guys, you put all of their experiences together. Well, there's, dang near 400 years of building experience, not to mention everything that you and your parents have taught them as well. So it's putting all that together and being able to take little insights from everybody and not being afraid to ask those questions is pretty big in my opinion, especially for young people and older, more mature people alike. They may think they have the answers, but there's always something to learn, something to try, something to go and see if it works. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And you pivot and learn from there. That's kind of how I like to operate.
Yep. Well, and here's the other thing I want to bring up, because you and I talked about this just before we started. So you did have a list of questions and you learned a ton of stuff. And you were in classes with all kinds of different people, and you're in builder groups with different people. And the progress you've made over the last 2 years has been significantly high. You've made a lot of progress in a short amount of time. And there's something to that. You did something differently than everybody else that was sitting in a classroom with you, or was sitting in a builder group with you, or is sitting as a builder with you in Fort Worth, Texas. What do you attribute that to? What are you doing differently from everybody else?
That's interesting. I think I have a lot of energy and a lot of care, and I had zero pride, and pride in a good way of, I didn't think my systems were better than yours. I didn't think my purchase orders, my invoice system, I didn't think, well, shoot, I could look at my numbers and tell you it wasn't better than yours. So I had a good knowledge of where I was and where I wanted to be, and y'all presented me with all the knowledge I needed of how to get there. And so I pretty much just took that Managing for Profit book home and I dissected everything. Well, first of all, I took a lot of notes in the class, and I kind of that weekend went and said, what do I need to do first? You put the big rocks in the bucket first and the sand fills in later. And so I went in and just kind of broke it down of what I think I needed to do. And I think I've showed you before. I come away from y'all's classes with just a priority, B priority, C priority. And these are the things we're going to change. Because unfortunately, business is that way. It's hungry. It is. You always need to be seeking to get better because there's someone right next to you seeking to get better too. So if you're not constantly no one's perfect. And so no one has that perfect business because things are always changing in our world. And so if you don't have that want to get better, that want to take things from a conference and go and do the hard work to implement them, then people will surpass you, unfortunately.
Yep. And I think that's the key, is that you take action. You set a plan, you know what you want, you set a plan, and then you take action and you stay disciplined doing those things. And I think one of the things that was really key at the very beginning was in Managing for Profit, we had gone through all the different numbers. So now you had targets to go for.
Yeah.
And in 1 year's time, I was like, those numbers aren't right. In 1 year's time, you reduced your direct construction costs. I think that probably was your number one bucket. You reduced your direct construction costs, I think 11%.
Yeah, that could be on the lower end estimate too. It was amazing. Like you said, you guys gave me targets and said these are the targets that we know that any builder in any market can hit. And so I said, yeah, let's go do it. And then you gave, like you said, the discipline to go and do the things that the book said to reduce those costs. And I went and did those, and it helped. The market was slowing down, so people were willing to work with me on costs. We were able to get into a concrete yard and things like that. But you go and treat things cost code by cost code and line item by line item. And, every single dollar, every $50 that you can pull out and not affect the end buyer is going to go straight to your bottom line. And that's how we look at it. And that's what made a humongous difference for us.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it's amazing that you did that. Tell me something, what motivates you every day to stay, like you said, always hungry to continue working to get better? Because you said there's always somebody next to you that can get better than you, and you're always in the race. So what keeps you motivated to stay hungry and keep getting better, but then also finding a balance so that you're not burning yourself out at the same time? So there's that fine line where you could go 100 miles an hour all the time and then be like, I don't have time for anything else. So do you have a balance, or is it just you're always hungry, moving, and staying motivated?
No, I'd say I have a balance. I mean, I think for me, there's seasons of life where it's seasons of the year where it's like, you may not be as motivated as others, and you got to take those in stride and still be disciplined, our favorite word, to go and do the things that need to get done. But maybe you're not going 115%. And there's certain seasons where you get dead set on something and you go and, work your tail off for that certain period. But I actually just went at the end of this year with my family and did a 5-year vision, because I was kind of feeling like, gosh, where do I want to go this year? What do I want to set my sights on? And so we went and did Mike Welty, he sent it to me actually,
Oh yes.
that exercise to go through. And so we went and did it, and it's cool to say, hey, where do I want to be 5 years from now, and really reflect on that. And then I went and set my 1-year goals for this year for me and my team. And then, 1-year goals, now you got to set your quarterly rocks to see what you need to do every quarter to get to that goal and to get to your 5-year goal. Well, guess what? Now you set your sight on something within 90 days, and now you got to break that down into your weeks, and then you just set these milestones in front of you that you want to go and mow down, and it's important to mow down, to me at least, and that's kind of what gets me going week to week, day to day, is knowing that I got to get this stuff done if I want that result at 90 days, if I want it at 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. And I think that's kind of what motivates me, is just setting those goals and going and achieving them.
Yeah. Well, and when you do it that way too, it helps create a little bit more balance too, right? Like you can look at it, you can go, okay, we can accomplish these things. And then you can plan ahead too. Like, hey, our teams, we might need to increase our team or improve some of our processes or systems, or review something so that these things can happen, right? So that it's not going, you can plan your life accordingly. So that's amazing. What are some of the lessons you've learned during this process about you, your team, leadership, those kinds of things?
Yeah, I would say some of the lessons I've learned along the way is just the importance of processes. It's a very vague word, but the way that a company does things and explicitly has it written down, or doing the same things the same way every time, it might sound boring, but it's really not in practice, because the problem's semi-different, but your process to get to the solution, or your process to eliminate the problem, changes, and it allows you to have a much better life. I mean, we have certain systems in place, and we need to do a better job of writing them down. But having those in place allow you to run a smooth company. And hey, we buy a lot, we do this due diligence with our checklist, this results in this plan being picked, this plan gets picked, and we go down our whole lane until you build and sell the house. And that applies to every business, no matter what you're in. So I find that pretty fascinating for business as a whole.
Yeah.
Along with that is the action of goal setting and vision setting, and then sharing that with your team so they can partake and help hit those goals. And so leadership's a hard thing, because a lot of people just come into home building wanting to be a home builder, but then they end up running a company, and you're not really a home builder anymore. You're actually kind of more of a leader, and more of a motivator, and more of a goalpost setter, kind of, where you're like, hey, these are our goalposts. You guys need to go and achieve this. You have the tools, you have the skills, go and do it. Come to me if you have a problem, and let's figure it out. And I think I learned a lot of that through that Traction. I'm a big fan of Traction, as you know. The Traction book by Gino Wickman, of setting your scorecards, setting your processes, having your team, giving them quarterly rocks, letting them set their own and take ownership over those, and going, unfortunately, you can't be 5 positions, so you're going to have to let those people go and do their work without micromanaging them too hard. Because I am kind of on it micromanager at times, so I have to restrict myself. But I think that's the lessons I've learned that carry over into other businesses and not just home building, on how to run a good business.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think that, and that's a very key lesson, starting off building your own company, you do everything, right? I know you did the sales, you did the estimating, you did the purchasing, you did the land, you did all of it. And I know you had Ramon there, and then now you have your other team member, Tito. So you're sharing some of that. So when did it hit you that you needed to start releasing some of that work and rising above into that leadership role and kind of projecting more, focusing more on the vision and the direction of the company than the day-to-day tasks?
Yeah. Well, I'm blessed. My dad's an entrepreneur. He did the same thing where he was running his own little land development company in Boise, Idaho forever. And he waited too long to hire employees, and he thinks that it inhibited him. So he was able to pass that on to me. But, one big advantage is you're so small and lean that your overhead is small. It's intuitive, but that's a nice kind of backstop to rest on, is, hey, we're going to be good. Our overhead's low. If something happened, home sales stopped, we're going to be good. And so it really took a lot for me to kind of get over that. Like, okay, let's hire somebody, they're relying on you solely to provide. And so you kind of got to that point where I'm doing permits, I'm doing purchasing, estimating, all of our POs, all of our scheduling, and then on the back end, selling all of our houses and doing all that. And you're just like, yeah, it's too much. And so I kind of hired funny enough, my aunt as my personal assistant for a little bit, where I just give her stuff that I thought she could handle. And that wasn't really working. And so he said, you know what, after going to one of my builder groups, I was like, I need somebody that's going to be full-time in purchasing and estimating, and help them run with some scheduling items to take that side of the business off my plate. And that's where I found Tito, and we brought him on. It's like, wow, I got all this free time. If you train them correctly and assign them tasks and let them take action and responsibility, you're able to free up a lot of your day if you're not eagle-eyeing them. And then I recently hired on another gal named Casey. She does my permitting and helps with my sales and marketing. And getting the permitting off my plate was pretty huge. And that was a big training haul, because you have all sorts of zoning codes and everything like that. But once you get that off your plate, it's like you free up so much time, and they're able to take accountability and ownership of that, and that makes their work life so much better, right? They see if you're able to educate them on the impact they can have on your goals and your bottom line, and how they can have an impact in the business. Well, guess what? People like to have impacts on things. That's a big thing for the human brain. And so you kind of allow them to do that, and they start to kind of take over and take more and more and more. And then you have your weekly meetings and your scorecards for each person and department to ensure that they're doing what they need to do. So I can sleep at night, and knowing that Casey's getting her permits, Tito's doing his estimates, POs, everything like that. And so you just I kind of felt it, right? Like I had a spurt where I was like, gosh, I'm not gonna be able to do all this. And then I kind of just tiptoed into it. Eventually, a huge step for me was getting this office space, which we have had for a year and some change now. And that's been super cool. And that was kind of a big first thing, because I was working from home, and that was like a super, kind of like a backstop, like I said, and so committing to the lease and everything like that, and to fill up the space, was a big step for me.
Oh, that's great. And there's a couple things you said in that's so neat. You talked about holding people accountable, giving people the responsibility to do things, and having them basically have ownership of their job, and realizing the impact they make on on the organization. At the end of the day, your organization, the impact it makes on the community and the homes that the people that buy your homes, out the impact it makes on their lives. And so it's really neat that you've created a culture where everybody's rowing in the same direction. And that's just so important for a successful, any organization, but particularly a home building organization, and still maintaining. And it sounds like you're still maintaining a lean operation where you're focused on making sure that you're getting the maximum amount of work done with the fewest amount of resources, because the industry is cyclical, but you're very aware of what things need to be done and how they need to be doing it. I think the other thing that you talked about that was really important is that you're constantly reviewing. You have your processes and systems, and you're constantly reviewing them. And I'd imagine as you bring on new people and even with your current staff, that you're working with them to be like, hey, how's this system working? How's this process working? Are there things that we need to do to make it better or more efficient and more effective? So I think that all those things that you're doing are pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, an interesting thought that just provoked is, so I was at it's almost like an AI conference in Fort Worth. There's this business group that puts on these little conferences, and they're talking about AI. And one of the guys was like, he owns a company that helps companies integrate and use AI to some extent. And one of his biggest things was like, if you don't have written, documented processes, AI won't actually be able to help you that much. So it actually became a big quarterly rock of mine, was to go and redo all of our processes and write any that we don't have, because if AI doesn't know what you do, it won't be able to help you. And so a big one of his things was get them written down and be ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's so funny because over all the years that my parents have been working with builders, and I think it's indicative in any industry, but a lot of times people, and AI is just another level of technology, right? A lot of times people think that, oh, if I just put technology to it, it'll just work. So like they'll get like a Mark Systems or Constellation or, Hyphen or whatever. And they'll be like, oh, well, now I can have POs.
Yeah.
So what you said is so important, and it's important for no matter, right? Just an ERP, or even looking at how AI can help you, is making sure that you have those processes fine-tuned and documented, just like you said. And it sounds like you have the first step done. You have your processes that are you fine-tuned them. Now it's just a matter of documenting them all.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, or you hear people talk about how they don't like a certain software, and there's one that I use, and specifically that a lot of people don't like. And it's like, I love it. We love it. It has a few kinks that you prefer not to have, but it's like, if you use that, if you put a good system, a good template, a good process, any software you can really make work. There's some exceptions, but softwares tend to fall on the user, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think there's a lot to that.
Certainly.
Sometimes people think that software is a Band-Aid, and you have to have all the right stuff to put in there.
That's right.
Let's talk a little bit about your future. You talked a little bit about what's next for you, but what are some goals that scare you?
Ooh,
Yeah.
Scare me. Shoot.
Yeah.
Well,
is there anything that scares you, or have you set some scary goals that you're like, am I going to be able to do this?
Yeah. I mean, in 5 years, we want to be doing about 150 to 200 houses. That's a scary goal.
Yeah.
We have infill lots in Fort Worth, like I talked about, on existing roads, and those will run out someday. And those are some good margin for us. It's hard to go and develop land and compete with the Lennars and the DRs of the world at an affordable price point that I like to be at right now. And it's hard to go and develop land affordably and build houses affordably and hit our margins. And so moving to a 100% full-on develop my own land and deliver my own lots, that's where I'm going. That's where I want to go. And that is a difficult spot to be. It's more capital intensive, more timeline, more time risk than an infill lot. And so, our goal within 10 years is to be fully only building on lots that we develop. And I'd like it to be sooner than that, but that's where we need to get to. It's just, that's a different world, and it's a difficult world, but it'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking on that, you said it's hard to compete. What are some things that set you apart? And it's something that I ask all the builders, but what is something that sets you apart from any other builder? And I don't want it to just be because we do infill lots, but why do your buyers buy from you?
Our buyers buy from us because we have a high quality house. It is higher quality. Everyone walks into our house and they notice the difference from the Lennar or the DR Express brand, where you have whiter gray cabinets. You get this countertop and these floors, and you're going to live with that. We do quartz countertops and some things, real nice, soft close, custom built cabinets that are built here in Fort Worth. Our interior gal does a great job of making our spec level finishes feel high end, which is rare. As well as our exterior, our elevations don't look the same. Our paint paint colors, switch it up, and our exterior selections switch it up as well. And so they're able to get into a house that is, in the high 200s. That's because we're in infill lots. A lot of the times, we're delivering some houses at 260, and they're able to feel like, it's an upgrade from their apartment, and that's why they're buying from us.
Yeah. I know too, you're working on your customer experience as well, aren't you? Your customer experience process.
That's right. We're actually trying to move more towards pre-sales and build jobs, without sacrificing our spec efficiencies of not having a buyer in the middle of our business the whole time. And so that is a hard work on our customer experience, but allow our timelines to be quicker, allow our cash flow to be more known, I guess, and give us an advantage over the Lennars and the DR Hortons, because they don't really want to do that anymore. And so I think that is something that people think this younger generation wants stuff built now, ready now, move-in ready. But, a lot of my younger generation's dream growing up was, I want to build my house. I want to build a house and I want to have the American dream. And so I think if you can bring that back at an affordable level and market it effectively, I think you'd be able to crush it.
Well, and that's what sets you apart. Because when you said a lot of young people want to build their own house, like I could feel that through the screen, that's something that you're passionate about, that, giving them that experience and having them have some say in what they're doing, and having them be a part of the process with whatever that looks like for you as a builder. But that was very cool how you said that and how you delivered that message. But that's what sets you apart as a builder.
Yeah, and the average net worth, or the median net worth of a renter, is about $10,500, and the median net worth of a homeowner is about $400,000. So it behooves the nation of America to get young people into houses, for sure, and I'm passionate about that.
Well, that's amazing. Cooper, you are just an amazing guy. I'm so glad that you joined our builder groups and became a part of our Shinn Group family. It's been so fun to have you with us.
Well, I'm blessed to have you all.
Oh, well, tell me, we're kind of done, finishing up our conversation here, but I know that you probably have a couple of things that you would like people to take away from our conversation. What are a couple things that you think are really important that people should have gotten from what we talked about today?
One thing I would do is read the book Traction. I think that tells you how to run a great business, along with Shinn tells you how to run a great business as well. But I think that's very helpful. Another takeaway is just doing blocking and tackling, processes, as far as, Shinn tells you all these things that seem boring: purchase orders, material takeoffs, limiting your number of plans, all of knowing your customer perfectly and doing the surveys. And just going and doing the fundamental things, and not doing them all at once, but writing them down, setting your quarterly goals and setting your year-long goals, and just lining them up and knocking them down, would be a big takeaway. That's just how I kind of try to operate in life, is breaking down my goals into littler chunks and knocking them out. I think that's how you, in my opinion, that's how you accomplish things. And so I just think having the discipline to do that and not go off stray if that seems like too much work or that seems like too big of a task load, because it's not. If you break it down into small chunks, you can accomplish great things over time. And that would probably be my biggest takeaway, really.
Well, thank you so much. Words of wisdom from Cooper Conger. So happy to have you here with us today. I think it's been, I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy seeing you. It's been fabulous having you with us here today. And I thank all of you who were here with us and spending time with me and Cooper. I hope you got some good nuggets that you can take home with you. I think what he's saying about breaking down those big goals into small chunks and tackling them one by one. I can tell you firsthand, listening to what Cooper did in the first year that we knew him, how he was able to tackle his direct construction costs. That's exactly what he did. He took one cost code at a time. He talked to one vendor at a time, and he negotiated with them in a way that made sense and was kind and respectful. And he ended up improving his net margin, I think, almost 3 times, and reduced direct construction costs 11%. So if you don't get anything from this, discipline, breaking things down and tackling them one by one. So,
and learning. And I'll see you in Atlanta in a week to learn a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So thank you again for joining us for the Builder of Choice Insights. We look forward to seeing you at our next one. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching or listening. Give us a like and leave a comment. And if you thought of somebody, be sure to send them a link so they can listen too. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback. Is there a specific topic or special guest that you want to hear about? Let us know. Did you like what you heard? Then I've got great news for you. You can listen to this episode along with many more at Builder of Choice Insights, where I talk with industry experts on crucial concepts that help builders become the builder of choice. If you don't want to miss this next episode, then be sure to turn on your notifications, hit that like button, and subscribe.